Triple E EDC here, back again with another knife video. I'm going to be starting a new series called Knife Noob. The idea of this series is to break things down that people don't generally talk about in videos because they're already used to or conversant in certain language, or really they want to get into talking about one specific knife rather than a class of knives. So I'm going to be going through and breaking things down into a way that someone just getting into the knife hobby can sort of understand, and may even be useful to some people who are already in the knife hobby. So today's topic is deployment, essentially how things are deployed. So this is really just for folders, obviously fixed blades, you know, you have a sheath and you pull the knife out and that's it. But as far as deployment, I'm going to start here with the thumb stud. Thumb stud is probably one of the most common types of deployment. You can have thumb studs, one on each side. Sometimes they come just on one side. But for the most part, you'll see them on both sides. And thumb studs allow for a couple different types of opening. You can use your thumb, obviously, and open it up. This is a Microtech Socom Elite. And you can also use your middle finger or one of your other fingers to get the bottom and go ahead and flick it out that way. But those are the most common ways that thumb stud deployment occurs. Now, many of these can also be gravity deployed, gravity flicked. What that means is essentially you wrist flick it out like this, and that is something that can be done on many different knives, but the Socom Elite, I believe, is one of them. Yep, see? Now, that just has to do with how strong the detent is, and I'm going to get to detent on another video. But you're also going to see with Benchmade knives, for example, when they have the axis lock, and this again has thumb studs, but really the axis lock is why I have this knife here to talk about deployment. But the detent on this actually is the axis lock. You can see it move when I pull the knife out. And again, I'll go over detent in a separate video. But you can use, again, thumb studs just like that. Thumb studs to flick it this way. Or you can gravity flick it or use the actual axis lock itself. Now, the axis lock is a means in and of itself of deployment. So in order to deploy it, you just pull it back and give a little flick and let it go, and now it's deployed. And then the same thing, you just pull it in like this, flick it back. Now, don't necessarily try this at home if you're new to that. You have to make sure your fingers are out of the blade path. So what I usually do is I'll put my fingers by the pocket clip and curl them around the pocket clip so they're not, if you can see, they're not in the blade path, and then I'll go ahead and pull it back. But again, don't really try this at home unless you're sure you're not going to cut your fingers off. Okay, so this is the Benchmade 940. This is the Smoky Mountain knife where it's exclusive with the contoured carbon fiber and M390 blade. So again, this is the axis lock, and this is axis lock deployment. Benchmade had a patent on this, and it was, for years, something that only Benchmade had. Now it's available in several other brands because the patent has expired. So you'll see it, I believe, the Knifeworks exclusive of the Hogue Ritter, or the Ritter Hogue, I should say, is that one has what's called the Able lock, and it basically is an axis lock, but they just call it the Able lock. So you'll see these on a couple different knives. You may also see them on Ganzos because Ganzo tends to rip off knives. So what else? So we have, next is a button deployer. So this is called a button lock deployment. You'll see it a lot on automatic knives, out the side automatics. You see this comes out the sides. That's why it's called an out the side automatic. You just push the button and it deploys. This is a Boker Kalashnikov in CTS-XHP steel. But that's all it is. And ones that are not, you will see button locks in non-automatics also. You know, you can push it and flick them back and forth, and it's actually quite a fun lock on non-automatic knives. I just don't have any that are non-automatic that have the button lock. Next up, since I just went with an automatic, let's talk about out the fronts. So these are both out the fronts. As you can see, the knives deploy right out the front. But the difference is how the actuator buttons, they're both slide locks. See, they just slide but the difference is just where they're located. This is on the side, and this is on the top. So this is a Heretic Manticore X, and this is a Benchmade Infidel. Next up, let's do another automatic since I have it on the table. This is a ProTech Magic 2. This sort of has a special deployment. It has a hidden, this is actually a backlock, or pretty much like a backlock, but it's hidden. So you actually just slide the scale down in order to pull it out. So I'm going to push the scale with the palm of my hand while holding onto the pocket clip in order to deploy it. You can see it's an automatic, it pops out like that. And so you can see when I do that, the silver back pops up. That's because it's a backlock. And so that's just sort of an ingenious way to hide a backlock and make a knife that is like Magic, hence the name ProTech Magic, Magic 2. Now, I don't have necessarily a lot of backlock knives. This is a different kind of lock, even though it's not really a different type of deployment. It's still a thumb stud deployment, but since I was mentioning a backlock, this is the Triad lock from Cold Steel, but it operates like a backlock where you just have a lock you push down right here, and you see it pops up, just like the Magic. All right, next we have a front flipper. This is the Boost Blade Smoke. And so you'll see there's a spot here that's jimped, and it's called a front flipper because, well, you're flipping from the front instead of the back. Whoop. So that's why they call it a front flipper, Boost Blade Smoke. And this knife is here actually to demonstrate a couple different types of deployment. You have a flipper. This is a flipper tab. This is the Wee Roxy 4 from Todd Knife and Tool. But in addition to being a flipper, it also has an opening hole. Obviously, it's an elongated opening hole. And it has a fuller. Now, a fuller is this groove that's cut in here. Why is that important? Because between the fuller and the opening hole, you can middle finger flick it. So, this is an excellent knife. Very fidgety as well. All right, this is the Benchmade SOCP folder. This is a thumb disc. This right here. And a lot of Emersons have this. I don't have any Emersons, but this one has a thumb disc, and you use it just like a thumb stud to deploy it. Your thumb catches on it. It's jimped on the sides. Jimping just means it has grooves cut into it, you can see. And that's all it is. And you can also reverse flick it just like that as well. Now the two Spydercos are left. This is the Spyderco Manix 2, the Blade HQ exclusive in DLC, and M4 steel. So this lock is a ball bearing lock. It has a ball bearing in there that has a plastic cage around it. So the cage has the jimping on it, which is that grooved texture. And really, you just pull this back and, you know, you can deploy it just like that, just like an axis lock. But it is not an axis lock, it's a different lock. But you can also use the thumb hole and roll it out, or you can Spidey flick it, which is the middle finger flick. See, I'm putting my middle finger in the back of here and flicking it out. And those are the ways to generally deploy that one. So why do I, excuse me, why do I have this one here? This is the Paramilitary 2. These are copper scales and Maximate version. But I have this not to demonstrate the Spidey hole, which we just did, but to demonstrate the compression lock. So this is the compression lock. It's basically a backwards liner lock. I know some people who follow Spyderco don't like that it's characterized that way, but it is, or at least I feel it is. So you just pull it back, and once you pull it back, you'll see the knife fall, right? So you push it against the side of the scale. When I say pull it back, push it against the side of the scale, and it falls. So you can deploy it just like that by relieving the tension. And so you can also use the Spidey hole, which is the hole right here. And that's why people like Spydercos, because they can be opened and closed in a variety of ways, and they're pretty fidgety. So anyway, we hope this video has been helpful to you. These are just a couple of ways that things can be deployed, and hope you like this series. If you have any feedback, or you can tell me you don't like the series, or you want to see something specific talked about within the series as a topic for the next video, I'm happy to discuss it. Just leave a comment at the bottom. Go ahead and like the video if you liked it, and please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. It definitely helps to have more subscribers so I can get more viewers as well. Thank you.